I wanted to create a video on my review of liquid form of minoxidil 5% solution by Kirkland. I'll actually put the links in the description if you guys want to check these out. But my experience with it was, that I constantly heard from people that I looked like I was 17, man. Like I had a baby face. I didn't have much facial hair. I only grew a little bit on my chin. And graduating college, hearing from people like, "Oh, you look like you're 17," it was kind of it was emasculating in many senses. Emasculating in the sense that I couldn't grow facial hair as a man, and also that people thought you looked like a boy. No one wants to look like a boy, right? So I actually did some research before buying it about a year ago. And by the way, this is my progress for a year off and on. There are still some vellus hairs, and I should have stayed a little bit more consistent, but that's okay. I mean, it's sufficient enough for me. But minoxidil was actually used to treat high blood pressure, and researchers found that it also can provide blood supply to hair follicles. It somehow stimulates the applied area in which you actually put this solution on. And so it's also interesting. Here's a primer on your hair. So the hair on your scalp is a little bit different from the hair on your face. So the hair on your face is androgenic. It's stimulated from testosterone, but the catch is that testosterone converts to dihydrotestosterone, which is 10 times more potent, and it's responsible for male characteristics like your voice, your facial hair, for instance. And it's converted from an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase. But it's also responsible for male pattern baldness, androgenic alopecia. Dihydrotestosterone is DHT for short. So there seems to be an inverse relationship between the hair on your face, the facial hair, and the hair on your scalp. Not that it would offset anything if you actually took it. That, to my knowledge, I wouldn't know if you took this, for instance, and you put it on your face, if that will affect your hair loss. I'm sure it won't, because this is primarily meant for placing on your scalp. So it just provides nourishment for your hair follicles. It's supposedly to widen your hair follicles and prolong the anagen phase, which is the growth phase. If you guys remember from biology, you have your anagen phase, you have, I wrote them down up here, your catagen, your exogen, and your telogen phases. Your anagen phase, for your scalp, it generally lasts from 2 to 7 years, but it's actually a bit shorter for facial hair. And the reason for that, I'm not entirely sure, but the idea behind minoxidil is that it actually will prolong that phase. So along with the growth phase of your facial hair being prolonged, also comes with pigmentation of your hair follicles. So you notice that vellus hairs are translucent. Vellus hairs are the very thin hairs that are on your facial hair. And you have what's known as transitional hairs, which appear to be a mixture between your vellus hairs and your transition, or your terminal hairs. Terminal hairs are the fully developed hairs. Like, for instance, you probably have it on your chin and your mustache area. Those are fully developed areas of hair growth. And I've noticed that it's definitely helped me out. I mean, the side effects I've had with using minoxidil were that it can get a little bit itchy at times, And also, I've heard with the liquid version that you're not shed, and that's another thing I'll get to in a minute. Flake. You get these little flaky, dried up forms of minoxidil that fall off. So there is the foam version that you can use, and I've heard that that eliminates the itchiness and also the flakiness. So one thing I will mention, and this did happen, that I previously mentioned, was shedding. So in the process of converting from vellus hairs to terminal hairs, you have, as I mentioned, what's known as the transitional phase of hair growth. That's where you notice that the pigmentation of your hair is beginning to change, and it's also growing out longer, but it's not thick per se. It's just the pigmentation that changes. And in the process of shedding, that actually can or in the process of that phase, you can shed. Your hairs will actually come out. And I did notice probably about 6 months ago, my hair, not on my scalp of course, just my facial hair was shedding, and that's normal. It's part of the exogen phase, the shedding phase of your hair. And it's cyclical. Your hair is cyclical, even the hair on your scalp. You have your anagen phase, the growth phase. You have your catagen phase, which is, I'm reading here, it's lasts about 10 days when your hair follicle shrinks, and it detaches from your dermal papilla, which offhand I'm not entirely sure. It seems that it's a socket for your hair follicle. You have your telogen phase, which is the resting period, and that's generally when new hair starts to develop. And then of course the exogen phase is when you shed. And I don't entirely know if that's the same for androgenic hairs that are on your face, but I will say that it's likely similar, because you are shedding, and that's the same process of the hairs that are on your scalp. So if you guys have any questions about my hair growth experience, like my growing this out, just leave a comment down below. I'd be glad to help you guys out. Continue your beard journeys, because I know exactly how it was. I applied this morning and night, 1 milliliter, but it did the job for me. So I'm hoping it'll do the same for you guys. Yeah, just check this out. I bought it from Amazon. I think it was 6-pack of these for $30. But I ended up going through, I want to say I went through about 12 months supply of these, just so I can, start growing some facial hair. I also put it up here too, because that's actually what it's known for, as I mentioned. So yeah, just let me know, guys, if you have any questions, and stay strong in your beard journeys.